Today in Filament's Folly, we're going to paint the last of the Gen 1 starters. Also, stick around to the end to find out how to win a free 3D printer. Timestamps are below. Here are today's tools. First we have our Pearl Tangerine Orange. It's a nice translucent orange with metal flecks in it. For the base color, we're going to mix it with black. I'm going to apply it with my airbrush. You don't have to do that. You can do it with a standard brush, but I find that the airbrush just gives me a smoother coat. We're going to be applying the orange with a makeup sponge and a little bit of a traditional brush. I'm going to be mixing the base coat in these. They seal really easy and don't leak, and they also keep your paints fresh, as long as you remember to close them. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with the container that I showed you in the previous scene, and we're going to start with a little bit of thinning agent. You can use water if you want. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my base orange. After that, I'm going to add a little bit of black. You can always add more black, and it's hard to go back if you add too much. After I shake it, I'm going to check the color. For me, this is still a little bit too light, and I'm going to continue to add black until I get the color I want. I'll also add just a little bit of red as well. It's almost all black, but has hints of bronze now. Okay, here we have my resin print. This is already primed, and the flame comes off for easy painting. Now I've already done a test paint on this FDM print from my Ender 3. Just because I printed this in resin doesn't mean you can't print it on an FDM printer like an Ender 3, a CR10, or a VoxLab Aquila. I like to do my test prints on FDM, and then my final ones in SLA to ensure that everybody can print them. So let's get this base coat started. I'm going to use an airbrush, but you can use a traditional brush if you want. I'm going to apply the base coat in many thin coats, as to not have drips or lose detail. With the airbrush, these coats dry very quickly, so moving around the model helps. Okay, now that the base coat is fully cured, we're going to go ahead and start with the orange. I've applied very little orange onto my makeup sponge, and I'll wipe most of it off. I did this by tapping it onto my paint surface. Now you need to just start slowly rubbing this onto the model. We're not trying to get this all in one coat. We want to slowly build up the orange. Here we have the first coat dried, and if you like this kind of bronze, you can stop here, but if you want it to be more orange, you're going to need to put more coats on. With this second coat, I'm allowing the orange to get more onto the base model versus just the ornamentation. This will allow me to have a better transition of color and make the piece look more uniformed. At this point, I'll start working on the eyes with just the orange we were using earlier, in a traditional brush. Then I'll paint the pupils black, and use white for the eyes, reflections, the teeth, and the claws. Now for the flame. The base coat of primer gray is just too dark for this translucent orange, so I'm going to paint it white, followed by the same orange we used on the model, and then highlights in red. And here he is, all shiny and ready to go. The link for this file, and all my other public files, are linked below, as well as my Patreon link. If you end up printing this from Thingiverse, please don't forget to leave a like. It really helps others find my designs. This is the last of the Gen 1 starters, but not the last of my Pokemon. My patrons have already picked out and have access to several more, including this Christmas ornament Snorlax. Link below for the Patreon. And now to the free printer. I'm giving away a VoxLab Aries printer in the beginning of January to one of my lucky patrons. The longer you're a member, the higher your chances are of winning. Hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching and have a great weekend.